Madam Chair, we are now live.
Thank you, Ms. Mills. Good afternoon, everybody. How y'all doing? I'm Chair, the Asheville Human Relations Commission. My name is Tanya Rodriguez, and I would like to welcome you to the September 16th, 2021 Human Relations Commission virtual meeting. We're coming to you live from the Cherokee homelands, where the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians remain a sovereign nation to this day. We will now call our meeting to order. Before we start our meeting, I'd like to read off the duties of the Human Relations Commission of Asheville, which include but are not limited to: make policy recommendations to the City Council, which promote and improve human relations and advance equity in the city. Support the city's Office of Equity and Inclusion. Provide a forum where residents can raise issues and complaints relating to human relations in the city. Engage the community regarding the utilization of city-funded programs and policies for the promotion of human relations, and promote and improve human relations and advance equity in the following areas: public safety, education, art and cultural opportunities, economic development, health and human services, and housing. All committee members and staff are participating virtually. We appreciate your patience as we temporarily conduct our HRCA meetings remotely. We are streaming live on our Virtual Engagement Hub, which is accessible through the Virtual Engagement Hub link on the front page of the city website, and also linked on the commission page. We also have an option for the public to listen live by phone by dialing 855-925-2801. Once again, the number is 855-925-2801, and entering meeting code 9723. For those of you who plan to speak during our live public comment today, you will need to hit *3 to be put in the speaker queue. For those of you out there with us today, welcome. I will now go and introduce all the commission members and staff who are participating virtually. For our commission members, please make sure to mute your microphone if you are not speaking. When you have a question or would like to speak, click raise hand at the bottom of your screen. And when recognized by me or Brenda or Aaron or the city of Asheville, please unmute your microphone, and remember to mute your phone after you are done speaking. As I call your name, please say a quick hello, commissioners. And today we have Alfred Green, it looks like is not present. Ivan Melchor looks like is not present. Tiffany Debelo is not present. Tanya Rodriguez, present. Alex Nava, welcome, present. Oh, I just took it away from you. You go ahead. Alex Nava.
Hi, thank you. My name's Alex. I'm a new member of the board, and I'm looking forward to serving the city of Asheville. I'm new to the city, and I would like to get involved as much as I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Welcome. Dolores Venable is not present. Chris Weinbrinner.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Thank you for being here, Ms. Campbell. Thank you, Commissioner Rodriguez, for chairing the meeting.
Glad you're here, Commissioner Weinbrinner. Commissioner Susie Chandler.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Susie Chandler. It's good to see everyone who on the line. Deborah, it's always good to see you again. Thanks so much for stopping in.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Melanie Noyes is unable to attend today. Commissioner Daniel Young is not present. Commissioner Emma Nicole Worthy is not present. And Commissioner Crystal Michelle Reed is not present. Please join us in welcoming our City Council Liaison, Kim Roney, our City staff members, Brenda Mills, who is our Interim Equity and Inclusion Director and Staff Liaison to the HRCA. Aaron Miles is Assistant City Attorney, which is our legal representative here at the HRCA. And Deborah Campbell, which is our celebrated city manager for the City of Asheville. Thank you very much, Deborah. Glad that you are here, and we're looking forward to all that you bring to us and to the community of Asheville.
Thank you.
To help our audience follow along who are listening in on the phone, I'll state each of the sections of the agenda out loud. Again, I request that commissioners click raise hand and to be recognized to speak. Please state your name each time you comment. Just a reminder that the public is listening on the phone, and this keeps the public up to date on the order of the meeting and who is commenting or speaking. Okay. So for our first agenda item, we have approval of minutes for August 2021. Don't have enough for quorum for an approval of minutes. So how exactly does that work, Erin?
Madam Chair, since there is not a quorum, you will not be able to vote. You can move forward with the agenda items, or if there are any comments on the minutes for any of the commissioners. But until a quorum is present, a vote cannot occur.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Counselor. Did everybody get a chance to review today's agenda? Let's take a moment to review today's agenda, which is our next item of business. And our agenda can be accessed on the HRCA website in the City of Asheville webpage. Are there any questions about today's agenda? Wonderful. Next item up for business is new business. Welcoming new members to the HRCA. Welcome, Commissioner Alex Nava. We heard a little bit of your introduction earlier. We would like to invite you to take a little time to introduce yourself and what things you're passionate about and what you expect for your HRCA experience. Welcome, Alex.
Sure. Thank you so much. So again, my name is Alex. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I also recently moved here from Baltimore, Maryland, which is where I went to nursing school. So I'm passionate about healthcare equity. I'm also passionate about socioeconomic equity, racial equity, and I've done a lot of work in New Haven, Connecticut, in Baltimore, Maryland, regarding these issues. And so I look forward to continuing the work here in the city of Asheville. And just excited to be a part of the team. Thank you so much.
Welcome, Commissioner Nava. I'm glad you're here, and we look forward to your passion in this commission and your experience. Well, that time has come for City Manager Deborah Campbell to be in the HRCA hot seat. It looks like we'll be gentle with you today. And I did have a few people send me some questions for you. So I did ask a couple of us just to ask some poignant questions for clarity and to bring groundedness to our commission and bridging the gap of misunderstanding between what we're here to do and how we can serve the city in positive and impactful ways. So I'm gonna turn it over to you. Our Q&A starts off with 2 agenda items, future direction of HRCA and how the HRCA can support the city, followed up with the question and answer. So thank you very much for being here, Deborah, and the mic is yours.
So again, good evening, and thank you all for inviting me. As was stated, my name is Deborah Campbell, and I serve in the role as the city manager, City of Asheville, and I've been in this position for almost, this December will be 3 years. Again, appreciate the opportunity to come before this commission, and you know, it's interesting that you would ask me about the future direction of HRCA, which I think it should be something that this group needs to figure out on its own, and how the HRCA can support the city is actually doing that work to figure out what role, the intention of this commission. You know, I had the opportunity with some help to talk to staff to look at your, I guess, the ordinance that established this body, and just a couple of observations are that if you were to try to accomplish all of the things that it has for you in terms of the duties, and I think, Madam Chairman, you identified those earlier, you would be doing this 24/7. Would be all that you could do, because when I look at the duties and the scope of this body, it is enormous, and it is, I think, so broad that it's hard for you all to focus on, you know, a couple of things or 1 or 2 things that you even like to do annually. And so going forward, I'm hoping, and I've had conversations with the interim director of equity and inclusion, you know, for your retreat, I really do think that this group, because of the enormity of the duties that have been assigned to you, and the reference in your mission statement about carrying out the city's human relations program, of figuring out what that is. What is the city's human relations program? And whether that and whether the expectation of this commission is that that's going to be top down, that is that you want council or the city manager or the staff support to tell you that, or do you want to tell us the role that you think you all need to play, or it's a combination, a little bit of both. It's going to be top down and bottom up, and we meet somewhere in the middle. But what I will say is that we value your time. We value the potential role that this commission could play. But we do have some challenges in terms of defining what that role is and how it supports, complements other initiatives and other commissions that we have that support the city of Asheville. And in short, we've got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to try to figure out specifically a direction and a future for this commission. I don't think we ought to do it independently. I think we ought to work collaboratively as much as possible in terms of having staff that can help, I guess, be a resource, be a sounding board, and be able to respond in terms of, yes, these are real needs that we have, that we feel a group like this could support and advance. And so I guess my challenge to you all is we got to roll up our sleeves and we gotta get to it. I think it is something that is going to be somewhat challenging, maybe a little time consuming, but I think that to have these many people not in attendance at this meeting is a signal of something. And we've got some work to do. We as an organization will be here to support you. But we need to take this walk together and figure out specifically the role. And I will stop there because I think you all said you had, I'm on a hot seat, and hot seat is not talking at you. It's trying to get you engaged. So I'll stop there. And thank you again for inviting me. And also, let me just quickly say, I apologize. I think I was invited to a meeting earlier, but I was out of town and wasn't able to attend. So as your chair said, be gentle.
Thank you very much, Deborah. I appreciate what you do for our city, and you can imagine the depth of scrutiny of everything, every word, every move, every breath. So thank you very much for all that you do. Daniel, we offered the opportunity to ask 3 questions to Deborah Campbell. So Chris had his hand up first. So I'm going to have Chris take the lead so that you can hear the process that we had set up for this meeting. All right. So Chris, go ahead.
Thank you, Tanya. This is Chris Weinbrinner. I've been on the council or the commission since its inception. My question for you, Ms. Campbell, is I know for a fact that one of our mission goals is to support the Office of Equity and Inclusion. And we all know that office has had a challenging past, as evidenced by the article in last week's Mountain Express. Ms. Mills is the interim director right now, and I guess my question is, insofar as our role to support the office and the activities of the office, where is the city in the timeline of actually making sure that that office is one that is functioning and is doing work that we can collaborate with and support?
Thank you for that question and the manner in which you asked the question, Chris. I will give you just a little bit of where we are, and I'm sure probably Brenda, hopefully, have given you a status report, but I'll probably be redundant or repetitive, but here's where we are. We have one dedicated 100% person working on the management of the Department of Equity and Inclusion, and that's Brenda Mills, and she's serving in the role as an interim director. Today, the director's position was posted related to a recruitment process for that position. I believe last week, toward the end of last week, the 3 other positions that support this department were posted and advertised. And Brenda, it may have even happened even earlier than that, but I know I got information about it last week. So we are in the process of filling those positions, and we hope we can get them filled as soon as possible. The interview process will be happening, particularly for the 3 positions, probably with a interdepartmental team. And it would be the same for the department director position, probably. So that's where we are. What I will say in general is that when I look at the duties of the HRCA, and as I said, they're extensive, they're broad, so they answer what, but they don't answer how. And I think that's what we have got to emphasize and kind of think through. How do you support the city's Office of Equity and Inclusion in its duties and responsibilities? What does that mean? What body of work comes to this commission from that department? There is no commission that, impacts more administrative things. And so we just got to make sure that we have some understanding of clarity about not only just the what, but the how.
Thank you for that answer. I appreciate the emphasis and the movement on getting this commission together. It's often felt like we're all on the right side, rowing on the right side of the canoe. So I would support any kind of retreat or what have you to get us on a path that is one that's a better and more productive path. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Do you have any further questions, Commissioner Weinbrinner?
No, I'm just using that as number 1. I've got 2 more, right?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. I don't have any right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner Weinbrinner. Commissioner Young.
Hey, how y'all doing? Sorry for being late. Been working with these kids and trying to get this community center together. Derek, I think this commission, our committee has been doing everything that's been asked of us what to do for the community. It's like I think that we need the mayor and y'all to have our back as well as we got y'all's back. I mean, we found out what the community wants, what the cries are, and we bring it to y'all, and it seems like it goes in one ear and out the other. I mean, and one of the biggest issues now that we are dealing with in our communities is safety. That's from Shiloh, from Hillcrest, from View, all the way in Asheville. And the kids are not feeling safe. The parents are not feeling safe. And I think that should be one of the major issues for right now, to be moving forward. I mean, until the city see us come together and we doing what they crying about, of trying to at least hear what's going on and try to fix it, we're going to continue to have these little backdrops when people are not showing up or not supporting us because ain't nobody hearing their cries. I mean, what can we do? What can be done? 'Cause, I mean, we had these shooting in Shiloh. I talked to Ms. Mills about that, and it's still no action been done. It's like we keep putting out one fire and then another fire starts. And we try to stop that and then another one stops. And nothing has been done. I mean, it's from that, it's from the school systems. A lot of stuff is keep coming up. After we saw one problem, it's another problem. What can we do? I mean, as a group, to show our community that we really want to do what's right, that we're trying to do what's right. I mean, we can have all the retreats we can do I mean, if we're not doing no action, then guess what? The retreat is worthless until we start doing what we got to do for our community. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young. I will just briefly respond by saying, number one, you said until we start doing what we need to do for our community, nothing is going to change. I would love to communicate with you around or have some kind of dialogue around what is the what that we need to do in order to address the concerns and the issues that you talked about for our community that we're not doing. I would love to hear more information about that. Secondly, I would hope that you would remember the dialogue that we had around reimagining public safety, that public safety and community safety is all of our responsibility. And yes, Asheville Police Department has a huge role, particularly as it relates to violent crime. You know what we are faced in terms of personnel shortages. That's not an excuse. It is just real. And that's not just City of Asheville, that's the entire nation. Every community is struggling with this. Every community is struggling with increased crime. It is one of the highest and most important issues we've got to solve because it is the underpinning. It is quality of life. You know, people don't feel safe. I mean, it's just not a place that they want to live, do business or anything, worship, whatever, recreate. So yes, we've got to get a handle on that, but we have got to understand, you know, what's the critical path, what's missing, and then it has to be a community response, not just a city response.
Thank you very much, Deborah Campbell and Commissioner Young. Those are really powerful statements that are necessary. Commissioner Nava. Oh, wait, hold on one more. Commissioner Young, do you have any further questions or do you feel complete? Okay.
Not at this moment, I don't. Thank you, though.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Nava, you've got the mic.
Thank you so much, Chairperson Rodriguez. Thank you, Ms. Campbell, for joining us today. This is my first meeting with the Human Relations Board, and I can see that there's a lot of work to be done. I really appreciated your words in defining the wide scope of the commission and some of the issues that are coming up. I see that there's a lot of work to be done. I also think it's important for us as a commission to recognize the limitations of a volunteer run organization. I agree with you, Ms. Campbell, about starting out small and working our way up from there. Some of the things that I heard about public safety that we could potentially, maybe this is something to discuss at the retreat, but like a listening forum, inviting community members to come speak on public safety, inviting community members to brainstorm on potential solutions or community initiatives that we can help either channel or spark or support. So anyway, those are just my 2 cents on some of the topics that have come up so far. But my question specifically is that before I moved to the city, I was really excited to read about the LGBTQ+ non-discrimination agreement that had passed. Was very excited about it, and it was one of the big reasons that I decided to move here. And I'm wondering whether there's a formal channel to handle these kinds of either complaints or investigations regarding the ordinance, or whether that's something that is needed, that needs support. Thank you.
And I believe that we have a more detailed presentation on that Aaron's going to provide for you, I think, at this meeting. And so I don't know, Brad or Aaron, if you all want to say anything else on that one.
That is correct. Thank you, Deborah. Commissioner Nava, I will be providing a more detailed presentation on the non-discrimination ordinance later in the agenda. But yes, there is a process in which, an administrative process in which people in the community can file employment or public accommodation complaints with the city of Asheville if they feel that there has been some sort of discrimination in violation of the non-discrimination ordinance. It can be done virtually, in person, or mailed in, and I will go into further detail about the process and what the city's role and investigations are in that presentation. And if you have any questions further, I'd be happy to answer those.
All right, thank you so much. I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Nava. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Deborah. These are fabulous questions. I'm so proud of all of it, of everyone in here. Commissioner Chandler, you have your hand up. The mic is yours.
Thanks so much, Chairwoman Tanya. Hi, Deborah. I am working on a work group for our health disparities, and have been doing some research and come across some really disheartening statistics, really, around Black mortality rates. Namely that our state for the 2014 to 2018 data that I was looking at that's available for our state rates. The mortality rate among African American non-Hispanic was around 888 per 100,000. Then Indigenous, and then white non-Hispanic at 777 per 100,000. The part that's really hard to understand is that for Buncombe County, for our county, the same numbers are worse. The African American mortality rate per 100,000 is 996.4 for African American non-Hispanic, then white. Indigenous get a little break there at 754 is the next highest number, 754.9, and then Indigenous at 487. That's the total mortality rate. It's broken down by how people are dying. The top ones for all races being cancer and heart disease. And those are still incredibly disproportionately affecting our African American citizens and community members, even more so in Buncombe County. So my questions are, and I have a two-part question. I apologize in advance. My questions are, what's the deal? Is it quality of care? Is it more acute cases because of systemic racism? I think that I'm getting into that what versus how that you're talking about. And my questions are, what recommendations as a commission can we make that can increase prevention measures to prevent a lot of these heart disease and cancer deaths? And the second part of that is, if you look at the homicide rates, it is so much worse. The homicide rates for Buncombe County's Black people is 12.14% higher than the whole state for homicide. It is, let's see, I could not understand these numbers that not only is it higher in the whole state, but it's acutely higher, 25 times higher than whites. In fact, the same number of white people and Black people were killed, 23 white people and Black people were killed in this time frame, except that represents a huge, with 7% African Americans in Buncombe County and basically 95% white. It represents such a huge disproportionate thing, and I think that may go to where Commissioner Young is saying that people don't feel safe because they're not. I mean, the numbers are there, and I don't even know what questions to ask. Is it a law enforcement issue? What else can we do to at least not be embarrassing with our mortality rates as a community?
And so that's a big question Susie, I wish that I were able to respond in a much more informed and succinct manner. But what I will say, I would again go back to shared responsibility. In particular, when we talk about human relations and when we talk about the systemic reasons for violence or harm or sickness or any of those things, oftentimes it starts in the individual's home, and then it expands out into the community. And so for us to address this, and I just keep going back to community and being a good, I don't want to use the word citizen, but to be a part of a community and to build a good community, we need lots of people caring about the community. I mean, if you think about Human Relations Commission, is about interaction and relationships. And it's not about what can the government do to fix a problem? It's about what can we as a community, how can we envision ourselves as truly one community, supporting one another, helping each other, and what can you do from a Human Relations Commission perspective is conversations, dialogue, promoting humanity. I mean, it's tough right now with the polarization of our country. I mean, and so we're in these camps, and we're saying, if I help you, then I have to give up something, or if I'm helping you, then you're taking something away from me. That's the kind of, I think, dialogue and conversations that possibly this commission could do more of in terms of managing conversations about, do we care about one another? How can we care more for one another? I'll stop there.
Thank you, Deborah. I appreciate it.
Commissioner Chandler, do you have any further questions?
I am complete. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Chandler. Those are very wise words, Deborah. You know, it's easy to fall into that trap of all or nothing, you know, and I see you, Commissioner Young. It's easy to fall into that trap of all or nothing and then the blame game. And it's important to join together as a community to figure out how we can heal from hundreds of years of atrocities that all of us in this space carry in our bones, and do it in a way that's productive, protective of each other, and constructive, and restorative, and integrity. So thank you very much for sharing that. Daniel Young, Commissioner Young, I'm gonna keep it in question form. Keep it in a question. Let's stay curious. Commissioner Young.
I got a question about Susan was talking about the deaths in the community and stuff. I think one of our biggest problems in Asheville, since I've been here all my life for one, and we had community centers that was open for the neighborhood, for our kids. Now we don't have that. And now our kids are going one way, and that's to the streets. more violence because we don't have no programs for our kids. And that was taken away by our city. That wasn't taken away from us, by us. It was done by the management over us. They took away Reed Center. The Marfa Center is no longer available for our kids. Pierce-View Center. I mean, the centers that was helping our community, showing our kids love, y'all took it away from it. It's stripped. So, I mean, come on. Asheville stopped being a community when y'all stopped stripping us from the stuff that was going right for our community. Now you see what the problem is now. Our kids are going to the streets, getting shown by the drug dealers what's enticed to them. Besides going to basketball, playing football, or this and that, what we did have. We don't have that no more. As a black child in Asheville, there's nothing to do. The kids have nothing to do. We don't have no big brother, sister programs for these kids. We don't have nothing where these kids can open up to each other to talk to us of what's going on. But the school, and then the school is not doing so much. So what are we gonna do about addressing that? Opening up these centers so these kids can interact with each other and can have some way they can talk to each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. That was a sentiment that I have heard a number of times, particularly when I've met with Blacks throughout the community. This past budget session, council passed, and forgive me if I don't know the exact amount, to extend operating hours for recreation centers, to spend more money on maintenance of our rec centers and parks and playgrounds, and to develop some type of partnership with United Way and others so that we can develop more programming in our centers and in our parks to address some of the concerns that you raised. The budget just got passed in July. Yes, we should be much further along in having those conversations with the community. I will make sure that I can reach back out to you with additional information about where we are, and I will provide that information to the rest of, if Brenda will help me on this one as a follow-up to bring more information about the status.
Thank you, Commissioner Young, and thank you, Deborah, for opening up that very important conversation that's necessary whenever the youth are left behind. The whole community is affected negatively, and how can we open those community centers to provide spaces for the youth to have a place to thrive and grow together in powerful and healthy ways. The youth today are amazing. They're strong. They're brilliant. They're far beyond anything that I ever experienced when I could remember being a kid. And I think if we're not honoring that, it's we're destroying our community at the most base level, and that's something we have the power to affect change with, and how to do that is the next step. Questions from one of our commissioners that was unable to be here today. I've got 3 questions from Commissioner Devereaux. Commissioner Devereaux asks, can an HRCA representative join the reparations conversation as we move forward as a city?
We have hired, and I think Brenda may have already given kind of an update on this of where we are, but we're fortunate enough to have council approve resources needed to hire the project manager. project manager and I and Brenda will be meeting next week to talk about the selection process for the commission. Certainly anyone on this group can apply to be on that commission. But again, we are working through the process for selecting. As you all know, I think we are tentatively calling for about 25 members. The majority of those members will be neighborhood representatives, and then have some, what we're calling technical experts as it relates to the 5 focus areas that the resolution identifies that we needed to address through this process.
Thank you, Deborah. I've got 2 more questions, Commissioner Weinbrinner, and then I'll get to your question unless it's major and you need to ask it now. What say you?
And if I could, I think I saw something in the chat about the United Way running our centers. No, sir, they're not going to be running our recreation centers. I just want to clarify that. That was in partnership with them on a number of other issues related to potentially getting partners to provide services to our centers, not running our centers.
Thank you for the clarity, Deborah. Second question from Tiffany. Can we, as a city commission, spearhead ongoing community conversations around reparations and its necessity to invest in Asheville Black communities?
Can you repeat that first part? I'm trying to make the connection.
So I think I might shift the wording a little bit. Can we,
Okay,
as the city commission, lead ongoing community conversations or inspire ongoing community conversations around reparations and its necessity to invest in Asheville Black communities?
so I would suggest to you, yes, as long as it is supportive of the process that hopefully the project manager and the commission agree upon going forward. What was presented as part of the resolution says the city manager is to come back and recommend to the city council a process. We've done that. We've recommended a process. Going forward, the project manager and the commission will be more responsible for how the process moves forward. So yes, I think that will be something that we need to at least give a little bit more time for the commission to be formed and the project manager to be onboarded so that we can think through all of those details and potential roles for other groups. I certainly think that advocacy is appropriate, and I think the purpose of the commission is to highly focus and suggest that there be investments in Black and Brown communities.
Thank you very much, Deborah. And the last, there's 2 more questions from Tiffany. As the city manager, what would you like to see from the HRC? And I believe you did address that. So I'm going to go on to the next question. The South Side community is the most gentrified community in Asheville. How can the city of Asheville remain intentional and keep the South Side name visible on the citywide 2036 plan? We desire to keep the name. Thank you.
Okay, I think that is something that I need to talk with our Community Engagement Division, and because I need to hear a little bit more details of some history about what that concern is. So Brenda, that'll be one of the follow-up items that we can bring back.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Deborah. Commissioner Weinbrinner, thank you for your patience.
Yeah, thank you. Ms. Campbell, as far as the upcoming reparations project, I know you said people can apply. Has the city of Asheville sought out the collaboration of the local racial justice coalition in continuing this work? I know that they spoke during the speaking sessions that you guys had at the Harrah's Cherokee Casino, and I just wondered not casino, it's the center, right? I wondered just basically what kind of collaboration you saw between the city and the RJC going through the process of reparations.
So we actually did reach out to them when we were having the information and truth-telling sessions for their assistance in terms of promoting and encouraging participation in a variety of means and ways. And in fact, our conversations resulted in us creating more opportunities for people to participate outside of Harrah's. One of our challenges was just technology. What other geographies within the community could we go to and really have the opportunity to link back into Harrah's Cherokee Center? So, you know, they were very persistent, and we had a little bit of time to kind of figure that technology out, but we were able to figure out at least one site that we could go to have some of the dialogue outside of Harrah's. Going forward, again, the project manager, the commission will be entrusted, and obviously the city of Asheville will always be involved in this process, but a lot of that decision making will be left up to the group.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Weinbrinner. And we do bring policy recommendations based on community input, Commissioner Nava. We did that with the recommendation for the Vance Monument removal and for the recommendations for the houseless encampment non-clearing recommendation that we recommended to City Council. Councilwoman Rooney.
Thank you so much for a moment to just speak up. I value the work and the time that y'all give so much, but anyone who's watching this meeting won't be able to see the chat. So unless it's a technical issue at the meeting, please raise your hand, write down a note so you don't forget, and lift your voice in the meeting so it can be part of the public record and part of the minutes. And I say that with deep appreciation for what you bring to the table.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman. So my questions. How are those paintings doing in council chambers? Have they come down yet? So for those of you who may not be familiar, there possibly was a set of paintings in council chambers that depicted a very extremely racist point of view of how Asheville was colonized, and it was one of the things that I've made a commitment to myself to do, to be a part of, in challenging those paintings being up there, because not only that were they given information based in an inaccurate rendition of history, it was also offensive on multiple levels to go into a room that was to be community based, while supported by paintings that were very far from that. So, how are those paintings going? Are they gone?
So the paintings are not gone, but they are covered with what we feel is much more reflective of Asheville, which are images of our mountains. Brenda, if you don't mind, because we took pictures of the chamber now in its current state. So getting the images back to this group, since we're not hosting a lot of meetings in the chamber and so forth. So we will bring back those images to show you how we've covered those images. There was also, because this building is a historic building, there literally are lots of things that we can and cannot do. We covered the payments.
Thank you very much. Is there movement to remove them, replace them, and maybe bring in images that better reflect the community of Asheville and its diversity, as opposed to the community of Asheville and its oppression?
Moving forward, that is exactly what we want to do. This is the best that we could do in the interim, considering the number of other initiatives that are underway, like Vance and replacement of the Vance Monument and so forth. But yes, we have an interim fix, but going forward, that is exactly what we want to do.
Thank you very much. That is a really good first step, and I appreciate you, hearing me in the back of your head. I'm sure you remember my face when I was like, "What are these?"
Yeah, it was you and many others.
Right. All right. So this is a really interesting question. It's more of like a process question. And the process question is in the direction for the HRCA. Do we see the HRCA leaning into addressing policy and practices within the halls of the city that are not based in equity, meaning we look into policy and work together with the Office in Equity and Inclusion to find out what policy and practices are not based in equity, so that we can make recommendations to City Council to repair those policies based in equity and oppression. As we know, equity is removing barriers. And so do you see us as being a viable commission that can work together with an Office of Equity and Inclusion to break down those barriers to equity within the halls of the city? Or are we mainly an advisory board that bridges the gap between the community and the city, and that massive void that prevents the community from feeling like things are getting done versus things actually happening in a how-based way? I guess it's a two-part question. So
that's the question is challenging from the perspective of do we see the HRCA as an entity in your role of supporting the city's Office of Equity and Inclusion, working on those types of things. And what I would suggest to you that once we have the office fully constituted in terms of the hires that are needed, I think that is definitely something that the director needs to think through in terms of what is the, you know, in addition to the city manager's office, what is the basic role of the Office of Equity and Inclusion, and what assistance does this department need outside of the existing infrastructure, our HR department, outside of our existing infrastructure that a lay board could support and help. So I would leave that a lot to the direction of the director. And the other part was, so I think it was, can you work internal, or is it something that you should be doing external? And I think it's both, Dan. I really do. I think there's the potential for both.
Thank you very much. I agree with that, and I see that, you know, the opportunity that we can be the bridge to that gap. Commissioner Weinbrinner, thank you, Deborah.
Yeah, this is going to be my last question. Ms. Campbell, when we're talking about working internally within the city of Asheville and its different departments, Kimberly Archie expressed a lot of frustration in being able to make the connections and the inroads that apparently she needed to make in order to get buy-in. How is the new person, how are you going to set things up so the new person will not have that same rocky path to tread? Or can you, as a city employee, can you help in that process?
Thank you for that question, Chris. I want to say unapologetically and emphatically that from the city manager's perspective and from the city manager's office perspective, we are 110% supportive of equity, advancing equity, and supporting inclusion. Again, it goes to not, so that's kind of the what. The issue, I think, and our challenge is the how. How do we operationalize equity and inclusion? How do we embrace this, what most people think are, you know, is kind of a concept. I personally feel that it's value, that I believe the action that council took by establishing this department means that this is something that they want us to incorporate and execute in everything that we do. But how do you do that? We had a discussion around policies. That's definitely one of the ways that we need to advance equity. And policies could range from personnel policies in terms of our standards for hiring, all the way to do you have to go through a petition process in order to get a sidewalk in your neighborhood? So I guess the long and short of my response will be that it is a priority, it is a value, and yes, I will do everything I can to ensure that every other department head understands that it is a value and it is a priority. And we need to figure out how we better execute and operationalize the value as we deliver services within our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Weinbrinner. I have one more question, just one quick, easy question. Brenda, I know next agenda item is coming up. It's right here. I feel it. Just one more question, Deborah, and we'll release you from the hot seat of the HRCA. It's one question, two definitions. How do you define equity, and how do you define inclusion?
So I would define equity as sharing and caring. I would define inclusion as applying to as many conditions as possible. Sharing and caring.
Thank you very much, Deborah. We appreciate all that you bring to the city. And for clarity, we want to maybe open up a shared narrative regarding equity. And so I think that maybe we can build on that. And we look forward to more sessions with you here, and grateful for your presence and all that you do for us and the city. Thank you very much, Deborah.
You're quite welcome.
So next on our agenda item, we do have a new business regarding inequitable race-neutral rental application fee concerns. Since we do not have a quorum, we'll go ahead and wait till for our next meeting to address that issue. Next up on our agenda are staff updates on reparations, process, project manager, contract approval, and next steps. And Aaron will be leading us in our non-discrimination ordinance process presentation. So Brenda, staff updates on reparations process, project manager, contract approval, and next steps. Brenda,
This is Brenda Mills, Staff Liaison, HRCA. I'm going to be brief. Deborah Campbell mentioned to you that the contract was approved on Tuesday from City Council. I am putting together a meeting with an internal city team and the project manager to look at the process and a timeline. And I will update all of you, keep you all updated as we move along in that process. Keep in mind that I know many people want to understand more about how people can get involved. It will be applying to the commission. So either through, we're going to look at neighborhoods recommending people through neighborhoods, or and we're sharing the role with the county through the technical assistance in the 5 areas. So that's my presentation. I want to give a few more time for Aaron to go over the non-discrimination ordinance, since we're a little low on time.
We are, and just for clarity, what are the 5 areas for people that may not be familiar?
Public safety, health, education, housing, and my brain goes left. Economic development.
Thank you very much, Brenda.
I will add a link to the resource page, so you will have that with the all the information on that contract and everything. So you'll have that for the future.
Thank you very much. And Aaron, would you like to lead us in the non-discrimination ordinance process presentation?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners, for having me here tonight. I will be providing a overview of the Asheville's non-discrimination ordinance, and I believe Brenda's going to run my slides for me, so thank you, Brenda, for doing that. As you all know, the city of Asheville did adopt a non-discrimination ordinance in March of this year, 2021. It went into effect on July 1st of 2021. I will cover the applicability of protected classes and the enforcement measures that the city is implementing in order to make sure to enforce the non-discrimination ordinance. Next slide, please. The non-discrimination ordinance is section 10-2 of the city's code of ordinances. It prohibits discrimination in both public accommodation and employment. The protected classes are listed here for you. It does also mention housing. However, the city of Asheville will not be investigating any housing complaints. What our role will be is to provide assistance to those citizens who have any complaints with housing discrimination and help them by contacting the North Carolina Human Relations Commission and helping them file complaints in that way. Next slide, please. With housing, we did, within the ordinance, the city does make two important interpretations. One that interprets prohibition on sex discrimination in housing to include discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity, as well as the prohibition on racial discrimination in housing to include discrimination on the basis of natural hair or hairstyles. Next slide. In regards to enforcement measures, the Office of Equity and Inclusion will be the primary contact for citizens who have any complaints against the non-discrimination ordinance, on whether there is a discriminating practice that is ongoing, has occurred, or is going to occur. There is, on the Equity and Inclusion website, there is an opportunity to file a complaint via an online form. The complaint can also be filled out and mailed or dropped off in person with the office. Once the office receives a complaint, they will contact the respondent or the person or entity in which the complaint is against and inform them that there in fact was a complaint. That entity or person will have 10 days from receipt of that notification to file an answer with the Office of Equity and Inclusion. That office will be conducting any investigation that includes contacting any entities or persons with questions, any information that may be needed to further investigate, with support from the legal department, myself, in order to complete that investigation. After the investigation is completed, the Office of Equity and Inclusion will make a determination on whether or not there is reasonable cause to believe that there is a ongoing, has occurred, or is going to occur act of discrimination in violation of the non-discrimination ordinance. At that time, a violation, if reasonable cause is found, a violation will be issued. If reasonable cause is not found, then the complaint will be dismissed. At any time during the investigation, a voluntary resolution can occur. That meaning that if the respondent and the complainant have the opportunity to have a conversation and come to some sort of voluntary resolution, the hope is that majority of complaints will end in some sort of voluntary resolution, and that no violations or citations will have to be issued by the city. However, that is recourse is available if voluntary resolution is not reached. And that will, if you go to the next slide, please, Brenda. I have included, and I believe this is also, this slideshow has been included in your packet. The city website has the information where any citizen, including yourselves, can review the forms. There is a form for a complaint, a form for an answer, as well as a form for amending either a complaint or an answer, as well as the contact information for the North Carolina Human Relations Commission, where any housing complaints that are received to the city will be forwarded with assistance from the Office of Equity and Inclusion. And that will conclude my presentation. Are there any questions from commissioners?
What is yes, thank you very much, Erin. What if the complaint is against a city process or practice? How will you address the city investigating itself?
So the way that I'm trying to make sure I understand the question. Are you stating that there is a citizen who is stating that they were discriminated against as a city employee, or is that what you're explaining? Is that what you're asking?
A citizen who files a complaint.
So if a citizen files a complaint, we will conduct an investigation by contacting the entity. Now, there is a way for citizens, for staff, if they have complaints against the city, there's a process already set up internally for staff to handle internal complaints. And I may need to lean on Brad just a little bit there, because I'm not 100% sure if I'm understanding the question fully, or
Sure, Madam Chair, I can probably assist with some of that. So there's a variety of situations which could arise. Let's take a circumstance where somebody perhaps feels that they might have received some sort of discrimination against a member of law enforcement. If that were the case, there is a process by which we have a complaint system that can be filed, that is investigated in compliance with state law. Now, that is, generally speaking, a process which is confidential, and it's not because the city determines it's confidential. It's because state law requires that those sorts of personnel matters have to remain confidential. Now, if it is a process that someone believes the city has in place and not an individual employee, we would also ask at any point for any member who feels like there's a discriminatory practice going on to provide that information to a member of city staff, up to and including the city manager's office or my office, so that we could go through the process of reviewing that internally. The short answer to this is that it really depends on the type of claim being made. It could be anything from someone who is a city employee, and if that's the case, if they feel like they've been discriminated against, we have an internal process by which they can file a claim for discrimination, as well as a civil service board, which hears those matters. If it's an external person, it depends somewhat on the department that they would be alleging those actions took place, or if it's a practice. I would advise anybody who feels as if they have a complaint or grounds for discrimination to contact the city, and I would even say that you can contact the city attorney's office directly. We are more than happy to receive those complaints and to communicate with those individuals and look into the matter thoroughly.
Wonderful. Does the city have an option to come to us, the HRC? Daniel, Commissioner Young? Thank you. Does the residents of Asheville have can they come to us, the HRCA, with these complaints that we can take to the Office of Equity and Inclusion for further investigation, to work together in that way collaboratively, if they do not feel safe going to the city and instead going to an advisory board that is an independent board that's not a civil service board, or doesn't really have that works in collaboration with the city and is not viewed as um, being in service to how do I say this eloquently? XYZ. So,
I think I understand. And
yeah.
there's, first of all, let me answer the question and say, absolutely. This is a body that was formed with the sole purpose being to foster the kind of equity, inclusion, and human relations throughout the community, specifically as a liaison to the city council. And there is a certain amount of separation between this body and the city. None of you are city employees. You have been set up and empowered by the city to do those very things. And I would suggest that this is an excellent forum, but even further to say that if those are the kind of things that this body would like to dive deeper into and set up a more formal process, please explore that at your retreat and as you go forward and further define your role for the city and within the community.
Wonderful. Thank you. Aaron, is it possible for us to get a copy of that complaints process so that we can better understand the process of that and have input in that so that we can move forward together?
Yes, I can provide, I believe the presentation is included in your packet as well. The complaint process is identified on the Equity Inclusion website under the Non-Discrimination Ordinance, and it's listed in question form as to what do I need to do if I have a complaint, what do I need to do if I receive a complaint, and what do I need to do if I need to amend a complaint or amend in answer.
Wonderful. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Brad. Alex, Commissioner Nava, and then we're going to move on to our next agenda item for our working group updates.
Thank you so much, Aaron, for the presentation. So my question is, if there's no voluntary resolution agreed on and the city decides to move on with a citation or a violation, is that based on city law? Does it get escalated further beyond that? Or I'm just wondering, like what are the sort of the teeth to the process?
So if there's no voluntary resolution, a violation can be issued as well as a citation, and these ordinance identifies $100 civil penalty. The city, so this is a city ordinance, however, it does not negate the availability of both state and federal opportunities for those who feel as if they have been wrong, that are still available to any citizen outside of the actions that can be taken by the city of Asheville.
Thank you.
Congresswoman Rooney?
Well, unfortunately not, and thankfully not a congresswoman, just a city council member.
I keep doing that to you. I keep promoting you.
But I wanted to open the door for some more understanding around this as we're looking at these NDO or non-discrimination ordinances across the state and the cities that have passed them at different levels. Maybe Brad or Aaron could speak to this, as it is a civil violation, not a criminal violation. And that was chosen on purpose. The goal is to get people to choose and then to pressure firmly into right relationship as close as we possibly can without creating a criminal incident. Additionally, this is the floor of the expectation, not the ceiling. So the state and federal guidelines may go farther on some parts than the city, but we're not going to preempt federal or state regulations. Am I being clear on that, staff?
I think that was well said, Councilwoman Roney. Let me say that this is something that is in addition to the laws and the options that were already out there. But we felt that that was not only insufficient, but we wanted to make it very clear where Asheville as a city stood on these issues and pass something that was both symbolic and also meaningful towards gaining the kind of equitable treatment that we expect for everyone here, our residents and visitors alike. And we tried to provide penalties that does not add to the criminalization, as Councilperson Roney mentioned, but provides a mechanism by which we are trying to, first and foremost, educate people, to persuade them towards the kind of behavior. So this is not purely punitive, but we reserve to ourselves the rights to impose fines and additional legal options if it becomes necessary. So the teeth are there, but we hope that those are the last resort and that we can end up effectuating the kind of change through alternative means, which we believe might be far more persuasive and meaningful in the long run.
Thank you very much, all of you, for these wonderful responses. Commissioner Young, we've got 5 minutes left, and
I got a question to ask. Y'all talking about the
Commissioner Young, please. We've got 5 minutes left, and we've got a working group update. Can you hold off on your question so that we can do the working group update, and then we'll get back to your question?
well, the question is containing to the racism policies that y'all was addressing.
Can you hold off on your question, Commissioner
Yeah.
Young, please? Thank you. Susie Chandler, Commissioner Chandler, if you can bring us up to date on your working group in 3 minutes or less.
That I can do because I shared a lot of the findings in my question with our city manager. Mostly the staggering statistics with the Black mortality rates. We also spoke with Fletcher Tove, our Buncombe County Emergency Operations Manager, about the COVID vaccination rates, and found that the county is primarily focused on white males and somewhat females between 20 to 50 that are lagging in vaccination rates. That the sites that have been set up at Eddington Center and other community places were effective in getting vaccination for our non-white populations, if you will. Let's see. We are continuing to pursue the research on the racial health disparities, as far as like long-term care, access to health insurance, things like that. And then I have on the pandemic impact on health issues. The information that we have updating that is around the higher mortality rates because of higher comorbidity rates among Black citizens. Comorbidity factors like diabetes, obesity, things that are caused by systemic racism and the breakdown of the health system and how it serves our Black citizens. It was also found to be higher impactful around employment and unemployment, one, and then also around the disproportional representation of non-white citizens in essential worker roles that were increasing exposure to illness, which had greater impacts. It goes on. There were several recommendations on what we can do to promote health equity that I can say for another time, as the work group is figuring out what recommendations we want to make based on this information. Essentially, we know that we face significant challenges. I was not aware that Buncombe County was worse than the whole of the state when it came to Black mortality rates. That was really shocking to me, and it feels like there needs to be more information available to the public, either through like news media, things like that. And our work group will continue to figure out how to use that information to pressure change and addressing the fact that as a county, as an area, we are higher than the state in our disproportionate effect of Black mortality. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner Chandler. That was packed in. That was perfect.
I have it all right here.
Yeah, the information is horrible, but thank you very much for doing the work to get that information to the ears that need to hear it. Moving on to our next item of business, community announcements. Are there any community announcements?
Madam Chair,
Brenda?
this is Brenda Mears, your liaison. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Please forgive me, but you skipped the unfinished business on the retreat discussion. So because we're a little short on time, I was hoping that maybe yourself, myself, you as chair, myself, and Aaron Miles could talk a little bit about what that retreat would look like. We could get that information to the board members sometime, maybe into next week, and see if there's any other things that they would like to discuss. I do need, however, for us to figure out, is that retreat at your next meeting with additional time, or is that another date? So we do need to decide that.
Right. Councilwoman Ronnie?
Is it possible that that could be done because there's a lack of deliberation with a doodle poll to see if folks are available on another day?
I don't see why not. I believe a doodle poll is not considered a vote as per sunshine laws, and we can definitely figure something like that out. Maybe throw out 3 different days and suggestions with times.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that there are several members that aren't here in this meeting that may wish to participate.
Let me just say, for a point of order, do you want a different date, or are we staying with the date? I've just never understood, is that a separate? So we need to figure that out first. If it's a separate date, yes, I'm fine with the doodle poll. If it's not, are we extending the time that you're meeting? Like maybe we meet at 5 or 4:30. So we just need to decide that, because this is a meeting that's already on your schedule.
I think we can definitely address that in a doodle poll as well, to have that option, whether or not we are doing the same day, or and what those times look like. It's just to give the people that aren't here an opportunity to have a voice in the decision of when our retreat day is. I believe we tentatively decided to have the retreat before the meeting last time we met, and that was a tentative decision, and so we can definitely make that concrete through email to finalize what that looks like, and then let everybody know, let the public know what when our retreat is. All right. Just to round up the meeting, Commissioner Young, did you have something to address?
Yes, I do. I was speaking out about the racism stuff. And my biggest problem, I think, for the Black community is the racism that's in these courtrooms with this court system. I think that need to be addressed immediately. I mean, we got these judges in there that don't give a damn about the Black community, lock you up for the littlest things, no compassion, no nothing. I think that need to be addressed as well. Besides the other stuff, I think for me that's what we're dealing with. I mean, the judges, they talk to us like we don't mean nothing. You can be coming in there late, or you just coming in there for a traffic stop, and they looking at you like you the killer. And then we turn around, the DA and the judges, they let the judges off for stuff that they should be pinning them against the wall for. So I mean, what's going to be done about this? I mean, it's been ongoing for day one. It ain't been stopped. So I mean, we're gonna fix some of the little stuff, the small racism. What about the big stuff that's continue to go on? That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Commissioner Young, that is just a solid point right there. That's real talk. You know, that is real talk. So I would like to invite the opportunity to investigate that a little bit further, and maybe even a lot of it further, so that we can look at the city from a holistic point of view, and then maybe invite Brad and Aaron into the conversation to find out what, how we can affect that change in our local courts to protect the communities of color in Asheville the Indigenous, Black, and racialized communities here in Asheville. Thank you for bringing that in. Commissioner Nava?
Oh, yeah, just going back on the topic of the retreat, I'm wondering if whether we can just decide now to have it the same day or a different day, given the people who have showed up today are interested in probably attending.
We like to lead with equity, so we want to make sure that all voices are important and heard and honored, and even the smallest things like deciding when a retreat is, it's important to lead with that example, not only for us but also for the community that we're in. So we'll make sure that it happens, and thank you for that. I appreciate your urgency and passion. I get it. So thank you for bringing that in. Next item up for business are community announcements. Are there any community announcements? This should be events and other engagements of interest to the HRCA and the City of Asheville. Nope.
We got a community safe serve the 25th of next week. We got 20 people of the community that's doing the class. If anybody can help us get some rapid tests for the community so we don't have no outbreak, we need them. We need about 20 immediately. I don't know. I reached out to Susie about it. She didn't have enough. We do need it. If anybody can help out, thank you. If anybody can come and take part of it, it's on a Saturday from 11 to 4 o'clock. Just come out and support the community. Show the community that we are there for them. They taking an initiative to do this, to take this safe search so they can get better jobs. And I think that'll be one way of showing the community that we are supporting them and just be encouraging to them. I mean, this is our third class for Asheville. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Are there any public comment that has come in, Brenda?
Madam Chair, we have no one waiting live to give comments. There were no emails or voicemails left for this particular meeting.
Thank you, Brenda. All right, motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Chandler. Thank you, Commissioner Weinbrinner. And thank you to the residents of Asheville, Brenda Mills, Councilwoman Roney, City Attorney Brad, and Assistant City Attorney Aaron and Deborah Campbell for being here tonight. Welcome to the HRCA, Commissioner Nava, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Take it easy and be kind to each other. See you soon.